we are analyzing the factors that favored the unification of Italy. Before you continue, I emphasize our customer Favoured of Uganda's idea, believe that you can. Believe that you do what? At a time, even when the waves are so difficult, believe that you can. So we are still looking at the favorable factors for the unification of Italy. The rise of able leaders. It is said the rise of able leaders like Favoured led to the unification of Italy. These ones mobilized the people, and people had to join the struggle for unification. So we are saying it was the rise of able leaders who were able to mobilize people that finally helped Italy to get its unification. Because the able leaders mobilized the people, and people had to understand the benefits of the struggle, which helped Italy to get its unification. Then strong army. It is said one of the obstacles to the Italian unification was the weakness of the army. But later the Italians built a strong army which was used to liberate the state. For example, it was used to liberate states like Lombardy, Venetia, and finally, Italy had to get its unification. When you are talking about the unification of Italy, you must identify some of the states like Lombardy, Venetia, Piedmont. Of course, Piedmont was the leading state that led other states in the fight for the unification. Then the identification of a model state. The identification of a model state, as Piedmont acted as a model state, which was very great economically. Piedmont led other states in the fight for unification. As they identified Piedmont as a model state, which was economically stronger more than other states, it helped in the struggle for the unification of Italy, because the resources that were collected in form of taxes in Piedmont were used to liberate different states, and finally Italy had to get its unification. Then the improvement in the economy. You remember economic backwardness was eating the struggle, but as there was improvement in the economy, the resources that were collected because of the improvement in the economy were used in the fight for the unification. As a stronger economy was built, we are realizing finally the Italians got resources to use in the struggle for unification, and Italy had to get its unification. Then the improvement in transport and communication. We are saying today the improvement in transport and communication helped the liberators to move from one area to another. As the liberators moved from one area to another, it is this that helped Italy to get its unification. So improvement in transport and communication helped the liberators to move from one area to another, and finally Italy had to get its unification. Then the rise of a strong middle class. By this time, the middle class at first was very weak, but the rise of a strong middle class educated people, and they had some resources in form of money, which resources were used to liberate the different Italian states. So the rise of a strong middle class, which middle class was able to mobilize people because they were educated. They knew the benefits of unification. It is this that helped Italy to get its unification, because the middle class had some money, and by this time they had the wisdom. They mobilized the Italians, and finally Italy had to get its unification. Then the mobilization of the masses. You remember at first, they were based only in towns. But later they mobilized the masses in both towns and villages. And it is this that helped Italy to get its unification. Because the masses had to understand the benefits of the struggle. And it is this that helped Italy to get its unification. There wasn't one country called Italy, but states fought until they liberated a state called Italy. Then the lessons from the failure of the 1848 revolutions. So we are saying today, the lessons from the failure of the 1848 revolutions, as they were defeated in 1848, they learned some lessons. Because at one time in 1848, they learned that they were not united enough. So later, they were united, and this helped Italy to get its unification. Then the rise of liberal forces. We are saying today, the rise of liberal forces in form of nationalism and liberalism. So the rise of liberal forces, nationalism and liberalism, these forces were used to mobilize the Italians to understand that they had to be liberated. And this finally helped Italy to get its unification. Then common strategy and plan. It is said they started looking in one direction, that direction of liberating the Italian states. So common strategy and plan. They got a common strategy and plan, where the plan was about liberating the Italian states. So the common strategy and plan finally helped Italy to get its unification, because they started looking in one direction. Then educational reforms. You remember, social backwardness was eating the struggle. They were backward in terms of knowledge, but as later they got education, it is this that helped the Italians to get their unification, because they had to understand the benefits of the unification, and by this time they joined the struggle, which helped Italy to get its unification. Then the Vienna settlement, 1814-15. The diplomats at Vienna at one time combined some Italian states and put them under Austria. It is this that finally made the Italians believe that if the diplomats at Vienna put us under Austria, we can still mobilize and fight and create only one state called Italy, and that helped Italy to get its unification. Austria's influence. Austria had a lot of influence in the Italian states. It was using even a spy network. So it was Austria's influence that made the Italians to hate the Austrians who were controlling them. And they had to mobilize themselves with a mission to liberate themselves. Then the downfall of Metternich in 1848. Metternich, a man who was having great influence, when he collapsed in 1848, people who were fearing to join the struggle, finally they had to join the struggle. Because the man they were fearing had already what? Collapsed. And that helped Italy to get its unification. Then the collapse of the Congress system. A system which was used to control the Italian states collapsed in 1830. When it collapsed in 1830, it is this that finally helped Italy to get its unification, because the system which was used to control people had already collapsed. Then the influence of Napoleon I. It is said the influence of Napoleon I. Napoleon I one time conquered the Italian states. When he conquered them, though he made the French to control them, but he put great ideas there in form of liberty, equality, and fraternity. So the Italians, by the time they rose up to fight for their unification, they knew